weather review here on Max Talks Movies. Today we're talking about episode 3, part 3, Time to Fly on Ahsoka, Star Wars show on Disney+. Welcome to Max Talks Movies. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. I do movie reviews, these type of weekly TV show reviews, movie rankings, and every Monday I release my box office breakdown show. So please subscribe, ring that bell so notified when to come back to the channel. Comment down below. What are your thoughts on episode 3 of Ahsoka? Did you like this? Did you think this was a filler episode? Did you think this was right out of Rebels? You're liking the show? You're not liking the show? Let me know your vibe in the comment section down below. Go full spoilers because this is a full spoiler breakdown and review. Like the video, guys, the thumbs up button. That's how you support this channel. Helps the algorithm out on YouTube. The way that works, that if you like the video more, my video will be recommended for more people. So please hit that like button. Isn't too hard, so please do that yourself down in the comment section down below. So this was part 3, Time to Fly, for the Ahsoka show on Disney+. Now, if you weren't here last week, I did do a breakdown of sorts, just my spoiler thoughts on the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka, but because it's back to being 1 episode a week, I will break down the episode, what I thought about particular things. So and it says Time to Fly, and basically we're in space throughout the entire episode. We're not on a planet really until the very end of the episode. So it really was time to fly. So the episode starts with this training that Sabine is doing with Huyang, kind of have that old school kind of Japanese flair to it in the music and the weaponry. It just fell right out of Kurosawa into the lap of Star Wars. And overall, this is the second episode directed by Steph Green. She also directed the second episode. These are her only 2 episodes of the season. And she did a really good job, I think, better than she did in Mandalorian. So we have this really good training scene between Sabine and Huyang, which leads into Sabine wearing the helmet, which kind of actually looks like Morok's mask of the Inquisitor, but her not able to use her vision, and Ahsoka training her in that way. So this is very interesting. This was a storyline that was brought up by Rian Johnson towards the end of Last Jedi, which his point was Rey is a nobody. Anyone can be a Jedi. Anyone can be Force sensitive. And that's kind of what I really liked about that movie, that Rey wasn't related to a mega Skywalker saga character, obviously, that they turned it into with Palpatine and Rise of Skywalker. And they completely dropped that. J.J. Abrams did in Rise of Skywalker. I think it's an idea that Star Wars desperately needs to move forward, which is characters that are not related to Force-sensitive characters, not known for Jedi, Sith, just their own people. And I think this show is doing a better job, I guess, at executing that with Sabine, who is both Mandalorian and kind of training to be a Jedi in some way. But they do a really good job of Ahsoka talking to Huyang, and he's like, he was very sassy to Sabine this whole show so far. But he's like, she'll never become a Jedi. And that's not what she wants. She wants just Sabine to be Sabine. Use that Mandalorian, use that Force sensitivity that they're training, and kind of combine that and just let Sabine be Sabine. She tried to force a cup to her that did not work. And Sabine did train with the Darksaber in Rebels and used it very well in Rebels before handing it over to Bo-Katan towards the beginning of season 4 of Rebels. But I really like this arc, and I think that all the Jedi keep telling us that there's all these things that Force just surrounds every being, everything. So why can't a non-related to a Jedi or a Sith become Force sensitive and one of those things? I think that Star Wars needs to do this. I'm happy they're choosing Sabine for this role. So Ahsoka, and then we cut to my favorite scene of the episode by far, this whole sequence with Hera. Hera walks into the Senators, which is now, we found out, is Chancellor Mon Mothma. Again, Genevieve O'Reilly returning to play this character. O'Reilly has been the character since her first appearance in a deleted scene in Revenge of the Sith. She then voiced the character in Star Wars Rebels, played Mon Mothma in both Rogue One and Andor. Obviously, Andor more famously. And now we learn that she's the Chancellor of the New Republic. So Hera has this meeting with the Senators, and there's a little gap back and forth with Hera and Mon Mothma. They're really friends. If you know Rebels, Mon Mothma does interact a lot with the Ghost crew. And, she brought up Jason for the first time, which is, we see Jason in a bit. But Hera has this great back and forth with Senator, I can't know how to say his name, Zono or something like that. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, played by Nelson Lee. and that basically Thrawn is back. There were outliers in basically one of the senators calls the people that they just ran into in episode 2 outliers, people that are just the New Republic is so arrogant that they've ratted out all of the people who supported, really most, not all of them, but the majority of people who support the Empire. And these are called outliers to them. And Hera says, well, they took, and one of the senators said they took an oath to support us. And Hera said, I don't think an oath is to say, long live the Empire before they attack you. Then she's great back and forth, and she brings up Thrawn is coming back. There's rumblings of Thrawn coming back, and that's when that senator is like, why are we just going to keep throwing Republic resources to find your just personal vendetta to get Ezra Bridger? And Harris says this is not about that. It's about the importance of, if Thrawn is alive, finding Thrawn, because all of these pockets of people in the galaxy that still support the Empire, they need a face to lead them. And that's exactly what Thrawn is. He's not just another admiral that's a forgettable one. This is the Grand Admiral Thrawn. So, and that's when they get it back and forth. And Hera has this great line to the senator where she says, you know, what were you a part of the war? He said no. And she said, did you just wait for the war to end? And then you just pick the side of whoever was going to win the war? Hera says, I was in the war. I fought against Thrawn personally. It's someone we can't lose. And, you know, Mama says, let us talk about it. And then Hera does zoom in later and tells Ahsoka and Sabine that there's no New Republic support coming for them in their search for Thrawn. So I assume Hera might go rogue from the Republic this season, because I can't imagine that's like it for Hera. So we shall see. Then Hera goes back and we see Jacen Syndulla, the son of both Hera Syndulla and Kanan Jarrus. Really good little scene between Hera and, you know, Jacen saying, I want to be a Jedi. So we move on to this big kind of, for the rest of the episode, just fun, exhilarating action scene in the space with Ahsoka with her ship and Sabine and Huyang against our villains of the show, Shin Hati and Marek, the Inquisitor, and they are going after Ahsoka and Sabine. Sabine's kind of like, you can tell, how do you call it? She was not in the best shape. She hasn't done it in a long time. Very rusty. She had a couple takes. Ahsoka really helped her. But the visuals, the show really feels cinematic to me more than any of the Star Wars shows thus far. And it really shows it in these aerial action scenes. It just felt very George Lucas to me. The music by Kevin Kiner felt very John Williams. It just felt like classic Star Wars, which I think this show is really bringing compared to any of the shows we've gone on Disney Plus so far. We get to a point where Ahsoka has to jump in a spacesuit and fight. That was a really fun scene. But they run into the Purrgil, who obviously the Purrgil are the ones in the season finale of Rebels who they can go into hyperspace. We saw one in The Mandalorian season 3, and we saw one in Rebels multiple times, but they're the ones who took Thrawn and Ezra to the unknown regions. It looks like to a neighboring galaxy. And we see the Purrgil, but also before this, Ahsoka and Sabine's ship. They're trying to get very close to what Morgan Elsbeth is building, this kind of like teleportation, whatever it is. And Huyang's like joking the whole time about, can we go a little closer, steady. It was really funny, felt very Star Wars. The jokes felt very Star Wars to me, not very just in your face, but really comical, really good use of the jokes in that scene. We then lead to Huyang getting the thing, but he gets shot, so he's kind of out. Ahsoka and Sabine evade our villains, Morak and Shin Hati, with going through the Purrgil. They land safely on this planet, which we knew was a planet which we saw last week, away from Shin Hati and Morak. So they're obviously not in a good space now. And that's when Sabine says that was the first time she saw Purrgil since they took Ezra. And then Huyang comes up with the full thing of the machine. And Ahsoka actually did say, could this take you to neighboring galaxies? And it says that the Purrgil will do that. And the Jedi Archive says that. So I feel like we really have a lot of momentum with this show. We then end the episode with basically Baylan saying they're in hiding the woods. Let's go find them. The episode ends. People are saying that this is a filler episode. I really disagree. And it's like the most Rebels episode I think we've gotten so far. Now, yes, it is a bit odd of these Disney Plus shows, especially where the first episode was 55 minutes. And now 2 episodes later, we're at a 34 or 32-minute episode. this really flowed to me really well. I think this is one of the times where the 30 minutes, people just don't like 30-minute run times, but I watch too much TV and a lot of 30-minute run times, and there's so much you can do in that time. And yes, I don't agree with the fluctuation of an hour episode and a 30-minute episode in the same season. I'm not a big fan of that. But here I thought it fit very well. The momentum of the show really picked up. If they continued the story with Ahsoka and Sabine, a lot of the training was really good. The aerial action scene was fantastic. And I think that the politics of the Harris scene is really great. Something that Star Wars has been trying to do. And I thought that scene really executed it very well. So overall, this is, again, we're 3 episodes in, and I'm actually, before I say this, I'm just gonna say I reserve my judgment if a show is better than another show until its run ends. I think this is the best start for me that we've gotten from any of the Star Wars shows so far, in my opinion. Obviously that's a lot of bias. I love Rebels. I've seen it 4 times now. There's a lot of nostalgia for me seeing these characters in live action, but for me, I follow through the show. Now, for people who haven't seen Rebels, I don't blame you if this is not for you and you don't want to watch the show. But for me, it's really working on a lot of levels. A lot of good philosophies are in here that we haven't really seen Star Wars use outside of the Filoni only universes in the TV shows. So I'm very excited to keep moving on. We have 5 more episodes. If I'm not mistaken, this is episode 3 of 8. So we do have some time before the show ends. So we do have 5 more weeks here for the remainder of this show. And I'm just very excited to talk about Ahsoka week to week on this show. So let me know your thoughts of Ahsoka in the comment section down below. I'm back here every Wednesday giving you my Ahsoka spoiler review. So please stay tuned. And I'll see you guys soon.